Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I am Mad Capper and this is another video on Raid Shadow Legends. In one of my previous videos, I did a 25 level dungeon showcase where I showed you all the different champions and teams I was using to defeat the various level 25 dungeons in the game. I also said that I would add an infographic with all the stats on the artifacts and their masteries of each of the champions I used, and that never happened. Well, let me explain why. You see, in the midst of making that, I then had to go away out of town for a few days on business, so I didn't get an opportunity to do that right away. I did post that I would do it the coming Sunday, which I also didn't do because in the time between when I left for business and got back home, I had changed out almost all of my champions. I had tuned them, I had tried different things, I had tried different comps, and so it wouldn't be fair for me to cut and paste and use infographic of champions that were no longer the same as the stats that I had when I actually used them in the video. So instead, I thought what I could do is do a level 24/level 25 dungeon showcase on each of the dungeons and then show you right within the video what gear and what champions I was using. That way you could have it all in one neat spot before doing infographics, changing stuff out. So the first one we of course are showing, as you can see behind me, is the Fire Knight dungeon. As you can see here also, it gives me a chance to showcase a couple other iterations that you may consider using if you are a low spend free-to-play and you do not have the meta comps, which is a Seer comp in here. This is the team. This is actually one of my favorite teams because this is about as free-to-play friendly as I can get it. I actually have one other team I'm going to showcase at the end of the video, but this here, as you can see, has a couple of unique things to it that I absolutely adore. First off, there is no Seer. We are not using a Seer comp. There is no Lydia. In fact, we're using only one legendary, and that legendary is a free-to-play login reward champion. If you do not have this champion, it's because you're probably not progressed far enough in the game, and if you are looking for a comp and you don't have this champion, you probably shouldn't be at level 25 dungeons, or you're spending money in the game and you probably have other champions that you can use in her place. But as you can see here, while it did take longer to get through the runs because we don't have Seer, absolutely reasonable team to use. 3 minute, 2 second, and here's the team in all its glory. Let's talk a little bit about the team and then I'll show you a couple other ones. At the very end of the video, I will go through each of the champions in the video and we'll have timestamps in there below so you can get to each champion and check out what gear I used. My favorite part about this is the fact that we're using Royal Guard. This makes me so happy inside because Royal Guard has been shuttered. Everyone said how bad he was. Everyone said you can't use him, might as well burn him. Hey, Massive, this is for you, buddy. You got a Royal Guard, I got you a comp. Now, I know a lot of you are probably using Seer, but some of you don't have Seer, right? I didn't have Gala Long Braids for the longest time. It's something that happens even to people who spend a lot of money. So imagine a free-to-play player probably doesn't have Seer. So this team here has a Magic Affinity Epic. It has a free login reward legendary. It has a Magic Affinity Epic. It has a Spirit Affinity Battle Pass champion and a Rare Void to complete the team. I love the fact that I'm using a Coldheart and Royal Guard, showing that enemy max HP champions are still very much alive within the meta, or at least within alternatives to the meta, and this whole team is available to you no matter what. But what if we're using Fire Knight 24? First, we should talk about why you'd want to do 24 over 25. The numbers have been crunched by people smarter than I, or at least more willing to go through the math, and per energy basis, 24 actually allows for better drop rates of both epic/legendary gear as well as 6-star gear and overall efficiency and silver worth if you were to sell everything from the runs. This means that per energy, again, keep in mind you're doing 2 extra energy at the next level, so the 18 energy versus the 20 energy, this is probably where you're going to spend your time. From a tournament standpoint, where you don't care about how much energy it costs, you just care about how quickly you can get to the 2750 or whatever the number is you're looking for, perhaps 20 is the better way to go. But when you're farming for gear, again, per energy, this is the better place to be. Keep in mind that in a lot of cases, 25 teams are more consistent than their 24 counterparts. So if you have a 25 team, for example, in Spider, that's consistent, don't try to drop down to 24. The difference in rates is not so much that it's worth killing you for. Especially those of you who have a chalk and are using that one, guess what? he don't work so good in 24 over in the Spider Dungeon. So with that said, what are we going to do? We have 2 weak affinity champions here, and we need to replace them. Well, the most obvious choice is the Lyssandra. Lyssandra can do just about as good as a job as Alure. She has some advantages too. She can control the waves a lot better with the turn meter reduction, which increases the safety of the run. And then you pair it with any nuke from any affinity other than magic. Guess what? You can still use Royal Guard in this. He still does plenty of damage. It takes a little bit longer, but because you're actually manipulating the turn meter and you're getting that increased ally speed, this is actually pretty good. Of course, not free-to-play friendly, so to speak, because there is a legendary champion that you must have in order for this to work. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a run with this team, and I'm going to cheat. I'm going to put an Ithos just so we can do some wave damage. This is going to be about controlling the waves, doing a lot of damage, and then getting through that boss. Also, Ithos does have a triple hit A2, so in some rare cases, it actually helps against the boss opening that shield. Other alternatives, any nuker that you feel you can use in waves normally will work for this. Again, we're talking about non-Seer comps. We will talk about Seer momentarily. So let's do this one. Again, I was going to mention Alika, Fenax, 2 options you can do in here. I think they will work perfectly fine for you. Now it's time to talk about the meta, and the meta, of course, is the Seer comp. This is a Seer comp that I use. The important pieces of this is that in order to make this to work, my Seer had to have about 310 crit damage, or else she'd leave a little bit of life left in the wave 1, which would mess the whole thing up. In order to achieve that with Visix, where I don't have all the buffs, is I have an immunity set on my Lydia, and my Kymar has a shield set. That gives me the extra buffs needed for me to get through the waves. Here we have an iteration for stage 24. You notice I've had to take out Kymar. We need the extra turn meter reliance. We've got both Alure and Lyssandra in there because of 24. Just Lyssandra, we lose the multi-hit. Just Alure, we miss the chance to resist because of the weak hit. We've also brought in a triple hit instead of Visix, just to, again, adding extra layers of protection. Now we have triple hit with Lightsworn, triple hit with Alure. We have 3 people that can manipulate turn meter. It's a little bit slower, but it's absolutely way more reliable, and therefore we get that, you know, if you still want to use a Seer comp for this particular iteration, you can still use Seer on 24 and you'll get something that's reliable and able to win. Here it is, the team that features no Lydia, no Alure, no Lyssandra. This is, I don't know, almost as free to play as the first one, so why not book cap it here? Also very good for stage 24 because you don't have to worry about Alure. How does this team work? Well, it all hinges around our good friend Visix. Do not fret. Sometimes Visix can die because she's taking on a lot of damage, potentially on the boss. But I'll show you it, and then I'll disappear, and we'll show you the run. But this team, I think the reason why I like it the most is because you've got the dual Coldhearts, which a lot of you already have built out because she has been so insurmountable in so many iterations of not only Fire Knight 20 but Spider 20. A lot of you have been making that, so if you have the 2 Coldheart rather than the Royal Guard Coldheart that we featured at the start of this, let's go on this, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised with the time that you're going to get out of this team. So here it is, my Fire Knight 24, by the way, also good for Fire Knight 25 team. There you go. I don't know why I think I like this the best because Visix shows her complete skill set in this. She's taunting to get you through the waves. She's using the speed debuff to and her turn meter decrease on the Fire Knight, and then in her last hurrah, and it happens every time, by the way. I imagine if there might be some miracle. So far, every time she dies at the end, but using Ally Protect on that one time to make sure that everyone else lives, and then they can finish it up. It's an interesting and different opportunity. It also, by the way, is my fastest times. That 158 best time was with this team. So, time to show you the gear on all the champions we've featured here in this video. The first one, Visix the Unbowed. She is, or Unbowed, she is my favorite she's my favorite old new champion all of a sudden. I always liked her look. I thought she was one of the sexiest, coolest, fanciest looking champions out there with the hair, the makeup gear, and even the shield and mace. Everything about her was awesome, but unfortunately her kit wasn't. Well, the changes they made to the kit has made her absolutely useful, and here she is. Her stats are 34, 783 HP, defense 3684, important to 230 speed, 235 crit damage. That is important to note, is I did not build her for complete survivability. You saw in a couple of the ones she was taking a little bit of damage. You may want to, if you're going to build her out for that, reduce the damage a bit and give her some more defense, some more HP. Bring her to about 4,200 defense and the rest in HP to make her more survivable. I did this, and you can see in some of those finished ones, she's doing over 1,000,000 damage. She does a lot of damage. She should not be forgotten that she can actually do a lot of damage against the waves, both in Faction Wars and, of course, in the Fire Knight. So there are her stats, 264 accuracy, of course. As far as her masteries, here we are. We have her with War Master. And we did this for the increase on the decreased speed, but basically we're just going for some accuracy and we're going for some damage here. Then, of course, Lydia, who we used in the Seer comp, we have her, as I mentioned, in the immunity gear. It's just an extra buff to help that crunchability of Seer. And her stats, she's running at 280 speed, HP 44,000, 3591 defense, 398 accuracy. We use her, I used to have her at 100% crit rate, but we actually had to drop the crit rate when I put her into immunity, but not really a big deal. I don't use her for damage. We're using her for the buffs, the debuffs, and all the rest. Her masteries, we didn't change her masteries out. There's an argument to be made. You can move her to offense instead of defense, but I use her for different things, so I like the fact that I get that cycle of revenge. I like deterrence. I just like the kit, but arguably, at least, she might be better off with some other options here. And then we went down the accuracy tree with her, mainly, of course, for Doom Tower. I wanted to get that Eagle Eye. If you can get enough accuracy or you're not using her in the Doom Tower, then you can probably go down offense, get War Master, give yourself some extra damage. But this worked pretty well for me overall. My Lyssandra, which is probably faster than what you need to have for the run, is at 51,000 HP, 3181 defense, attack 2589. She does do damage based on attack. 369, yes, speed, and 374 debuff accuracy. This is my arena speed lead in just about everything I do. I don't use Arbiter unless I need the immunity. I use my Lyssandra. It's more than fast enough for Gold 4 farming and also for this. So keep in mind, I did not make any changes to her for bring her into the Fire Knight, and therefore we go for Eagle Eye so that I can actually get some to land her turn meter decrease, which is very important in the arena. That Eagle Eye gives me a whole lot more people that obviously high resist is high resist, but it brings a lot more people under that umbrella. And then I have her in the defense tree for survivability. Retribution, I would probably argue to maybe have her cycle of revenge, but for the case of Fire Knight, you could definitely argue offense tree instead of defense tree as well. This is about survivability because I do like using her through the week on defense as well. I mean, I call that a pick'em for you. My way of building her was to give her a turn meter a lot, give her that Eagle Eye, and after that, this was just to get to the Eagle Eye, by the way. I don't think either of these matter. I'm trying to think of what she does. No, she takes debuffs off herself and puts them on. I don't think you can extend them or whatever. But I needed to take one of these two to get to Eagle Eye. Yeah, based on how I use her now, maybe defense, offense. You know, take your pick. Maybe Cycle of Revenge instead. But that's less about this encounter. For Fire Knight, if you were just using Lyssandra for Fire Knight, probably offense tree down to War Master would be your best bet. Next up, my Lightsworn, good for some Seer comps out there. You can take a look at his stats: 41,000 HP, defense at 4,800, 250 speed, 131 crit damage. He does do a little bit of damage, so you could argue if I wanted to, I just didn't have the crit damage gloves to do it and still get all the other stats I wanted, but you could argue to build him out for high damage, similar to how we had Visix built out, and of course 350 accuracy. As far as his masteries, we went with Giant Slayer because he's got the 3-hit A1, which definitely helps. And we have him down defense tree. There's a couple champions, and I'll say this. If any of these champions, if you're having problems with the accuracy aspect of any of these 25 level runs, let go of the damage, except for on your Seer or your Nuker. Let go of this Giant Slayer. I don't need it on Lightsworn to have the run be successful. Take it down Eagle Eye. Go get Eagle Eye. It's probably the better job for you. As you have a more established Great Hall, and you've got that extra 80 accuracy, then you don't necessarily need this, and you can go down defense, you can do other things. Interesting to note, I actually did not change one iota this Lightsworn. Once upon a time, long ago, if you've been a part of this channel, this was the guy I used in my 2-key Ultra Nightmare Unkillable team with Sir Nick and Roshkard. That's how long ago. I have not changed these one iota. So, you know, probably you could argue Ruthless Ambush. There's a few different minor changes you could use on this to make it better. But honestly, it works. So, I would, you know, this works for me. I'm not going to change his, I'm not going to change it one bit. Next up, of course, Seer. The key here is that she is in Savage gear. As you can see, I have her at 300. I think I said 310 in the video, but I have her at 300 crit damage at 181 speed. I don't worry about her attack. I actually have her in an accuracy chest, so 329 accuracy. But she's all about that strip and burn, I guess you can call it, and that's why we want that crit damage. I think if she's at 310, you may not need the immunity gear, but I don't know. I just wasn't able to make it work without stripping some of my best champion, like my Ithos' gear, so I didn't feel. Back to the Seer. I haven't even finished her masteries. I never got around to it, but we actually put her in Flawless Execution, and I wanted to do that for the extra reliability. I didn't need the Helm Smash. I don't want the 50-50 because a 50% chance to succeed for that damage is also a 50% chance to fail. You could argue War Master, but again, because of the gear, I'm not using my best gear for PvE content. So, you know, getting her to 300 crit damage using Flawless Execution was important to me. Again, she's a champion. You're probably going to need this T6 here. So you're going to need to get that accuracy from her gear, unlike the supporting crew who you can go down to Eagle Eye. If you have the gear to get Eagle Eye and still have the damage you need, then you probably have the gear to get accuracy and use the damage over here. So that's kind of the way. He's also in Savage. You've got 6184, 223, 245 crit damage at 43k health. So there he is. His mastery is pretty simple. I ain't changing him. If you were just using him for this, maybe Giant Slayer, for sure War Master, to get the extra damage, but of course I use him in the arena, so we've done something a little different. We've tried different things. I use him without a strip sometimes, so we have him in Shield Breaker. I use him in Nightmare Campaign farming, so I like the extra speed. So some of this is dictated actually by other content, but there he is for his masteries. We did use Alika for a run. So here she is. She's in Savage gear with some crit damage gear for the Nuker. 251 crit damage at 100% crit rate, 4190 attack. And I don't have her with accuracy because that's really not what we were using her for, but I think she can still land it on there, honestly. I didn't see resists on her A3, even though it wasn't actually running any cooldowns because they hadn't taken any turns yet. But there's the Alika. And then her masteries, we didn't change anything. If you were using her for this, you would go to War Master for that extra damage on the boss. But mainly we were just kind of playing around with damage. Again, I think more often than taking single out, I take Ruthless Ambush, and then I swing back to these two. But you could argue this is better because it's got the higher max HP. Definitely for Doom Tower, it's a useful one. So you have to make your own decisions here. You could go cycle of you could go Ruthless Ambush and Whirlwind of Death, and then kick down to Wrath of the Slain to get over to Bring It Down. And then you can, I always think Methodical's really good for these more sustained fights because she's going to get that extra 10% damage on a very strong, as it is, A1. And then Kill Streak to Helm Smasher. On this side, I don't even know why I picked this. I think it's because neither of these matter. So I just grabbed it. If you're already dead, then you're probably already in trouble. But nonetheless, one of the key pieces of the fight is Alure. Alure is in all speed gear to get her to that 300 speed, which is what I want. Although I didn't do a comp with it, I have done comps where I don't have Lightsworn or Visix to help with the turn meter reduction, or I use someone like Blind Seer to help with the buff crunch, but not her turn meter isn't 100% accurate, or 100% chance to land. So that's why I have my Allure at this speed. This gives you so much more versatility in not having that secondary turn meter decrease, while I prefer a Visix because it's guaranteed turn meter decrease, which makes the run so much safer. Technically, Allure doesn't need the help if she's over around 291. So at 300, she can be used perfectly fine here. 333 accuracy. I do have her with some attack, 3k, and we do have her at 100% crit rate. Obviously, you need it to land. And the big thing here is on the masteries, we went with that Giant Slayer for the extra damage. Other than that, I didn't change a whole lot here. I did go with Sniper just because she does lay down a baby decreased defense that can be useful if you don't land the big boy one from your Lydia or whoever you're using. So this was just a nice kind of added bonus just in case. Also very good for faction wars where that might actually come in handy. So the extra chance to land. Over here, we're just taking damage to get to here. Just like the other ones, you can argue to go to Whirlwind of Death and Ruthless Ambush and then negate taking Arcane Celerity. But I liked everything to do with her getting extra turn meter, extra moves, whatever, beforehand. On this particular encounter, maybe not. Maybe you don't need it. You can make those decisions on your own. As far as I'm concerned, the only important thing here is get her to the accuracy she needs, get her to the speed she needs, give her the Giant Slayer for the extra damage on them. Our Royal Guard, I'm sure many of you were hopefully happy to see still in use. So a thing about my Royal Guard, I actually didn't change a single iota of his gear or masteries, but I'll talk about where you want to make some changes. The first thing is the accuracy. We have him in an attack banner, resistance banner for some previous content I had done, but I think bringing in his accuracy so he has a chance to land his A1, which is a decreased defense, which might be useful to you depending on your team composition, and more importantly, the decreased speed in case you don't have a couple of those different champions that are landing the decreased speed. Here's a champion who has it for you, so you can land that. His A2 takedown obviously is more dependent on, of course, the crit damage. So overall, let's take a look at his stats. A bit of a glass cannon, but 4220 attack, and very slow. He was slow for my old Spider 20 runs. Like I said, I didn't add any gear to him. Better off to have him without as high of attack. Sacrifice that attack number for higher speed and more accuracy, just so you can have a more consistent run. Also, the crit damage, not important for the boss, but he's more about clearing the waves, and that's why I still want to keep him as much crit damage as I humanly possibly can. As far as his masteries, he does have a War Master instead of Helm Smasher. We did change that. This is actually, I did update his for this run. So again, we went with the more traditionally how I build offense out. I go to the max HP, so I go this way, and then I go to Whirlwind of Death with Ruthless Ambush, and then I come back to Wrath of the Slain and bring it down. Wrath of the Slain is not that much important because, again, if allies are dying, you're probably in trouble. So this is a very small bonus, but that gives me a chance to go to bring it down, which all these bosses have more max HP, and actually all the waves have more max HP. So that's going to be a big deal when Royal Guard's clearing waves for you. And then Methodical I like because on the boss you're taking a lot more hits. I also, of course, like Killstreak because he is doing a lot of damage. He is killing a lot in the comp we used him in. And of course, War Master, because of the nature of the new dungeons, War Master is better than the other three for him on going for this. And then this, just the chance to extend. Arguably, Sniper would be just as good, if not better, because you don't have a 100% chance to land that defense down. A lot of talking. Here's the Stag Knight. Our Stag Knight, who was, I think, the star of many of the comps. I actually didn't change him at all from what I've been kind of just using him as a debuffer. So I would change him to do more damage. You can get him to 100% crit rate and give him a little bit more attack, I believe. That way, attack. That way you can, you're gaining extra value out of him. He is a champion that can actually hit reasonably hard as well as do it. The debuff accuracy, again, doesn't need to be that high. I was using him in other content, so that's why it is. But if you're using him just for this, then get him a 100% crit rate, sacrifice some of that accuracy, and get more attack as well. And then, of course, get that 100%. I'm using 5-star gloves on him for the love of all that is holy. Over here, didn't change this either. Would recommend, of course, going to War Master for this encounter. And you do want the Sniper because he isn't 100% until you get this. Why they made it that way, I'll never know. But yeah, we just basically went Cycle of Magic. I guess I wanted the cooldown. I don't think this is really needable, I don't think it's needed. Sorry. So you could basically do like we did in the other videos. I could, instead of taking single out, I could take Ruthless Ambush and then go to Wrath of the Slain to get to bring it down on this champion as well, which I think is probably the better route to go. But again, I didn't spend the gems to change out. Our Fenax that we use for a run is one of our nukers. Here he is in all his glory. Very much glass cannon, but 4,300 attack, 176 speed, 251 crit damage, 263 accuracy. And then we go to the masteries. Again, I didn't change him out because I want to be able to use him for future arena content in the I Built Them series. He's one of my reference champions. But if you're using him for this and this alone, especially for Dungeon 21 up alone, War Master is the better option. And if you need more accuracy, you can take him down here, but he's a nuker, so I think accuracy is a secondary bonus for him in PvE runs. So I don't mind what I did here. I didn't change it, but you could argue maybe some support if you want to have a better chance of landing his A2, A3. Remember, he does have some pretty good usable debuffs on his A2 and A3 for running through waves. So there is the team. We got one more to go, and that, of course, is Coldheart. I won't show you the other Coldheart. Just assume they're pretty much the same. One's a little bit faster. I think one of them's at 250. The key to them is who cares about attack. Although in this, to help with waves, more attack is better. 221 speed, 75 crit rate with a crit damage, and 335 accuracy. My recommendation, if you're using them for this, is reduce the crit damage because she's capping it anyway to around 200. Get 100% crit rate so that she can help out on the waves with her A1 and A2. And then along with that, you can get her more attack to help out with that. So long as her accuracy is around 300, you can definitely do that depending on what your gear shows. I just didn't bother changing her out. And both of them should look that way. And as far as masteries go, did change it out. We went with Giant Slayer, so we didn't come all the way down here because it's I wanted to have this for something different, which is the Sniper, extra chance to land her poisons, and the Master Hexer to extend them. I would not do this if I were building her fresh. I wouldn't bother with the extra chance to land. Instead, I would go to Methodical. So I would take this, then I would take Wrath of the Slain and bring it down. I wouldn't take Lure of Steel. I would take Methodical and Killstreak into Giant Slayer. And again, just similar to how the Royal Guard was shaped, except for instead of War Master, we go with Giant Slayer because she's got 4-hit and 3-hit abilities. So a much better option overall, I would say. that is all the champions. Gosh, I don't think I missed one. That's not all the options. I'm sure there's plenty of iterations. I've seen teams using ally attack to run it with Kreela. I've seen a lot of different options out there. Hopefully you're finding the option that works best for you, and you're finding yourself plenty of success in Dragon. I will be doing 3 more of these for Ice Golem, Dragon, or sorry, in Fire Knight. Ice Golem, Dragon, and Spider. So thank you for joining me. I hope this was useful for you. If there's a particular iteration that you would like me to test out, come find me on Twitch. I stream every weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and I am adding a couple days during the week, although it may not be raid-related content. If it is, simply come in and ask me to try out a team. I'm more than happy, so long as I have the resources to do it. I'm more than happy to run that team for you and see if it'll work with the champions I have. So come see me on Twitch, and make sure you like and subscribe this video. And in the meantime, we will see you in the next video.